Hey yo, what's up? Just wanted to talk about Phantasy Star, and Phantasy Star is my favorite RPG of all time. A lot of people have said that now, and it doesn't sound like it's that unique, but it's certainly true in my case. I grew up with this game when I was probably about I was probably in junior high school, and I was at that point where I was starting to get interested in playing tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. So I remember back in school, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons on the at lunchtime, and I was really intrigued by it. But it was always hard. They were hard to get people together. People used to fight all the time. It was like kind of like trying to round up how they say trying to round up cats, in like a cowboy trying to get cats. I don't know how you say that, but that's how it was. It was always a mess trying to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I used to always have the books. I used to always be really into that, but it was hard to get players, and it was that kind of thing. So you had to kind of have to go to like the computers, and they had back then you could play like an RPG like Ultima on your Commodore 64 or on your computer home PC. And those times, computers were very expensive. It was something that was a luxury. So I was never able to have a computer. And lo and behold, they brought out this game right here. And I couldn't believe how awesome it was. I mean, the graphics at that time, it just put all other RPGs, anything else that was out there, to shame. And it was just phenomenal. Just to go to the store, I used to go to the store and just see this game up on the shelf and know that I could never play it. It was the thing about Phantasy Star at this time. This game right here, if you look, it's got battery backup, so you could save your game, and it's got 4 meg of memory, 4 megabit memory. So this game was huge for back then, because you got to remember, like, just your regular Master System game like this, like Wonder Boy, was just 1 megabit. It's a really cool game, but this was standard at the time. So, and then you start to get into the bigger games, like games like Space Harrier, like Sega Master System's conversion of Space Harrier is actually very impressive, especially for that time. Think about the arcade game and how super high tech and advanced that was. And this game's 2 megabit. So this was a big game. So they needed that space in order to create Space Harrier to even make it look anywhere close to the arcade. But very impressive version. So Phantasy Star comes on the scene. 4 megabits. That was huge for the time. So, and it goes to good use. And you see some of the screens. And I'll try to show a little bit of the game. But awesome game. I allowed myself to go back and purchase this game, allowed myself the pleasure of doing that, and going back and completing the game all over again. I love it that much. Even made maps and everything of the dungeons. That's one thing about this game. The dungeons, this perspective at that time, being able to have that first-person perspective was unbelievable, and it just looks great. The animations of the characters, and I'll try to show you whatever I can. Try to keep it short, so hope you check it out. So, just like your typical RPG, you start off with barely anything, no equipment, level 1, start on your journey, and you just go from there. You collect your clues and find out what all the mysteries are, and you find out who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, and when you're level 1, this is going to be your grind spot. You just grind about right here. You don't really want to take very many steps. Any place beyond maybe like a couple steps, and you just try to find enemies. You're at level 0, and you just start attacking monsters and trying to gain experience. So that's what an RPG is all about. Later on, as you travel, you'll get your other party members, and you're going to find these in all across the 3 worlds. So you go from level 1, and now this is a maxed out party, basically level 28, all maxed out with, and you find all your... Now, one of the things in Phantasy Star that's important is that when you're traveling, you're trying to find these different artifacts, armor, like Laconian armor, shield, and such. That's going to allow you to defeat the last boss. And these are spread all throughout basically the 3 planets. And they're in dungeons and caves, so you have to explore those dungeons and caves. And they get pretty hard and very, very complex. Some of them, they're going to require maps. And today, back in the day, we used to have kind of like... we used to have just graph paper, and we just go graph those dungeons. That was the style back then. That was part of the fun, was to make maps, and so you wouldn't become lost and get through the game. That's part of it. But I remember just going through like this and going to one of the first dungeons, and this was so cool. You could fight multiple monsters. But when you first go to your first dungeon for the first time in this game, was just incredibly awesome. That's one really cool feature about Phantasy Star. Depending on what geographical area you're in, say once you go to your main status screen, you'll see this beautiful display. So if you're next to the seashore, you'll be by the sea. If you're in a dense forest, there'll be a forest background. If you're in the desert, there'll be a desert background. And even like if you're in the airport, you'll see aircraft in the background. So excruciating detail, man. It just can't be said enough. Really, that's one thing about Phantasy Star. It's like underrated by like far. I don't understand why it doesn't get as much praise. It should get a lot more praise. And Sega should be ashamed that they don't continue the series. I mean, this game was just really made the Master System really stand out. If this is the one game that really made the Master System, in my opinion.